Okay, moving on to assignment number 5. This is from the image processing unit, and it's about portraits. Portraits are any kind of picture of a person. First, as always, let's go over the instructions. For this assignment, you will need to enlist the help of a family member for an environmental portrait. This could be a parent or guardian, an older brother or sister, etc. Although this won't be painful for your subject, it will take a bit of time. Okay, stop right there. First of all, it doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a friend, a neighbor, whoever, preferably no strangers. Also, it's not going to take too much time. And you can let your model, your subject know that, you can really get this done in about 15 minutes. The first step is to select an appropriate spot to take the photographs. Do not take the photographs inside. That is true, okay? Find a comfortable shady spot outside where your subject won't have to squint. This could be a covered patio, a ramada in a local park, under a large tree with plenty of shade, a porch, etc. If you choose the under the tree option, make sure no direct sunlight is on your subject. Now stop right there. I don't care if it's in the sun or in the shade, but as it said, preferably not both at the same time. Your subject can be seated or standing. Preferably, you will have a couple of both. The scene should be relatively clutter-free, but with enough supporting details to give an idea of where the subject is. Remember to orient the camera in either portrait or landscape mode as appropriate for the composition. I will show you some examples of how we use those orientations in portrait photography. Make sure you have your focus and exposure set on your subject. To do this, put your subject in the center of the frame. This is where your primary focus point is and where the camera gets most of its exposure information, and use the half push technique. Now, hopefully you've been doing this the whole time. This is how you focus and adjust the light. You focus with your subject in the center of the frame. It does not have to stay there, however. Okay, this will lock the focus and exposure for your subject. If you need to recompose the photograph, you can, which means move your subject away from the center, but you have to keep the shutter button half pushed when you are moving your subject around in your viewfinder. You'll have to do this for each image you take. Now that is, to me, obvious. It should be that you were doing this the whole time. Take a number of photographs of your subject capturing different facial expressions, etc. Make all of the photographs in one session and at one location. It's very difficult to recapture the feeling of a session if it is interrupted. Now this next part says important tip. This is not a tip. This is required. You will be graded on this. In the first frame of your session, have your subject hold a piece of white paper so you can see it fully in the camera. You will use this later to judge the color balance. Now, this could be a piece of copy paper, it could be a piece of notebook paper, a scrap paper. If you can't find that, it could be a white towel, a white t-shirt, but your subject needs to be holding something white. After taking your photographs, load them into your computer and look at all the images you took. Select 3 of your photos that you like the best. One image will be the photograph of your subject holding the sheet of white paper. The other 2 will be different images of your subject. As always, I'm looking for variety. Examine the image of your subject holding the white piece of paper closely. Does the paper look white or very light gray? Or does it have the tinge of a color in it? If it has the tinge of a color, open the color balance tool and adjust the colors so the paper looks white or gray. This is the part in GIMP where you use the color balance tool in between the secondary and the primary colors. Okay, so let's say you took the photographs under a tree. The images may have a slightly greenish tone to them. You might have to adjust the green magenta channel. Whatever adjustments you have to make, write them down. You will have to apply them to the other 2 images. Of course, if you're taking these all in the same location, they're all going to have the same color and the same light. And so therefore you will want to do the same edits on each one. Okay, save the first image as 800-1.jpg to your desktop. Follow the same directions with the other two images. Make sure you sharpen the images and then apply the color balance correction. Save them as 800-2 and 800-3. After you have selected your images, upload them to your instructor. Okay, let's take a look at what these will look like. As some of you know who attended the Class Connect, I did some senior pictures for a former student, and so I'm using these photos for this assignment. First thing you want to do is find a good location. Obviously, we had lots of time. We cleared out a whole day, and actually 2 whole days, one in the spring. As you will notice, her hair color changes and the weather kind of changes. One in the summer and one in the fall. So I do not expect you to go to many locations. Just figure out a good one, maybe with some interesting surroundings. Next, try different proximities, angles, positions, and facial expressions. Okay, so some farther apart, some close up, kind of a medium distance, approximating normal human vision. You guys remember that, right? So in every single one of these, she is in a different position. They are all standing, but you may also do sitting as well, laying down. And she has different facial expressions. Here, she is smiling, looking at the camera. Here, kind of a part of a smile looking away from the camera. Here, half smile looking at the camera. And here, no smile looking far away from the camera. Okay, try out different things. Now, this does not mean take 3 pictures exactly the same with one of them sticking their tongue out and one of them with their eyes crossed. Yes, I've seen that before. All right, and for the last one, try different photo orientations. Here is where we talk about portrait and landscape oriented photos. So here is a portrait. This means that it is taller than it is wide. This is a landscape. This is wider than it is tall. I apologize, these photos got cut off a little bit at the very top. But see, it's basically the same photo, but I was experimenting with the 2 orientations. Same down here, same location. One is a landscape, one is a portrait. Here, we wanted to get in the mountains and the mill, the old mill in the background. We wanted to get all the railroad tracks. So we're getting tons of supporting details, and it just worked better in landscape mode, with the landscape orientation. Here, this is a little bit closer up. Background's not as important. She's standing tall, so the portrait orientation works better for those. Now, you will need to resize these. Now, write this down. For the landscape-oriented photograph, your width will be 800 pixels. Your height will be 600 pixels. For portrait, your width will be 450 pixels, and your height will be 600 pixels. You can also find those sizes in the image processing unit under important note about assignment number 5. Now, after you choose your 3 photos, then you get to edit. Here I have opened the photo in GIMP. Now the very first thing, like I said, that you are going to do is scale the image, which means resize it. So you go to Image, Scale Image, In order to be able to type in the exact width and height that you want, which is what you will want to do, you need to unlink the chain. So width, we want it to be 450, like I said, because it is a portrait-oriented photo. The height will be 600. And then you just click on scale. Now you'll see that it does change it to a much smaller photo, but we can increase that. So I'm only given 50 and 100%, and I would like something a little bit bigger, so I am going to change that to 75%. There we go. Now, this photo does not really have any kind of color tint to it, but if it did, I would come up to colors and color balance. If you remember this, you want to keep preserve luminosity checked and keep preview checked. And then you can kind of play with your colors a little bit. Now, even though that looks kind of cool or pretty or creative, we're going to try to keep our colors natural. Okay, but can you see how when I move to the cyan, it changes to more of a cyan color? And what that is doing is removing the red. Another thing that you can do in this assignment is play with the contrast and the brightness a little bit. The brightness increases the lightness in the whole photo, or you can go darker with the whole photo. I'm going to go a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to increase the contrast. This makes the lights lighter and the darks darker. I'm going to click on OK. Another thing you can do is play with the saturation just a little bit. Here you're just using this right here, saturation, and you can add a little bit of color. As you can see, the colors are getting brighter as I go up. Now again, you can add a little bit of color. You still want to keep it pretty natural. That is a little too bright. So we're going to tone it down a little bit. There we go. Okay, and when you are done with your photo, you will come up to File, and instead of your usual Save As, you want to go to Export. Export will allow you to save it as a JPEG. Let me show you quickly. If I do Save As, it wants to turn this file into an XCF, which is a GIMP file. You cannot turn in any photo assignments as GIMP files. I only accept JPEGs. So you go to File, Export. In mine, it already comes up as a JPEG. Make sure to check right here. If this does not say JPEG, you will want to come down here, and it'll give you a list of lots of different kinds of files, and you will want to save yours as a JPEG, so you just click on that. This is also a good place to name this as well. So it's already highlighted. I could say 800-1. Couple things to remember for assignment number 5. Make sure that you have variety between the photos. You must include the photo with a white piece of paper. Always keep color and light natural. Keep composition in mind always from here to the rest of your life. And remember to resize your photos according to the directions. All right, thanks so much. Can't wait to see them. And have fun with this one.